the film. I thought it was gorgeous, like all the other ones you've done. I'm very curious about how the overall look of Maul changed from the beginning when you all were sort of drafting the images to how she and the other characters ended up in the film. That
Sorry, I just don't know if I didn't understand. You asked just for Mole or for all the characters?
Maul's my favorite, so she's my first one that I'm asking about. But all the characters, because I've seen some photo images of when you guys were, I assume, drafting the characters. And I know that usually there's a morphing from the very beginning when you all begin the design of characters to how it's going to end up on the screen, especially since you used multiple artists, animation artists, design artistry.
Maybe Federico or Svend can talk about that.
Yes, but I think it's a big question. So I think we can all, like, it's more than one person that can reply to this, because it's pretty happens is that you start pretty wild, and you're trying to find, the character, and it character kind of goes everywhere, at the beginning, because you try many different stuff. And then with time, two things happen. The first thing is that you need to narrow down who the character is. And the second thing is that making the character animatable comes towards you and changes your character, because the beautiful design you did don't work anymore if you need to turn them around. So like someone really talented like Sandra Anderson that works in the saloon comes and says, okay, this thing is not turnable, now we make it turnable. Then after that, the fact is that it's 2D. So what happens is that you have a lot of different animators that work on it, and everyone is slightly, different beautiful artist, and there are not enough model sheets because you cannot produce every possible pose the character are going to take. So the character starts morphing a bit, sometimes for the best and sometimes for the worst. So usually you go back in and you just decide which kind of creative changes you want to keep and which one you need to bring back in the rails. If you ask about specific beginning, you can see the first trailer. She's practically the same. The only thing we did was to play a bit with the proportion, because I remember she felt a bit too baby-like. The head was a bit too big, so we just brought her back to be a bit more, stern, mature, beautiful woman like. And unfortunately, she doesn't have a lot of space to use her design in the movie, but we are still very fond of her design. Maria, maybe it's like, or also Sven, or
yeah, maybe I could talk a little bit about, like, it was happening with Maul, but with all characters as well, that it was very nice for the animation department to kind of have in the same building the character designers and the model sheet makers, because then throughout the rough animation part, we could, if something was tricky to get to work with the design in the three-dimensional animation, we could always ask people like Federico or Sandra to help out with the drawing with an angle of the character, because there's only so many angles you can draw before animation starts. And that was just great that we could kind of pull on those guys and make sure that we got the appealing look, like it has to be appealing. And sometimes we would try and stick as much as possible to the model sheets that were prepared. But sometimes we would tweak a little bit to get the emotion to work exactly right. And I like that there was that freedom there. Yeah.
Actually, if I can add just a tiny thing, because there's not many people know it in animation that see it, and it happens in 3D, but it happens much more in 2D. The fact is that when you make a movie, the only thing that matters is whatever it's in the shot. What you did before, it's a guide, but it doesn't really matter, because the thing doesn't work in the shot, you're not gonna put it there. So sometimes when you turn around in a 3D scene and from a 3D movie, you will see that the character it's actually posed in an impossible way, but it looks good on camera from the angle you're taking it. And it happens the same with 2D, because, and much more actually, because the fact is that you see your shot and you're like, okay, what looks best? And you kind of adjust the design to still feel the same, but to work the best for the shot. So, I mean, that's one of the beauty of animation, to take those freedom.
Loved the music in the film. It really enriched it. I was wondering, how did you all select the instruments? Did you use musical instruments or try to get the sound from what we think they sounded like back in the day, since we don't have recordings from the imaginary time when that took place? Thank you.
For this film, there is a very important magic aspect in the film. So I tried to make stronger this aspect with, and for me to obtain magic effects with music, it's great to use voices, for example, metamorphosis of voices, a special way of writing strings. I use celesta, harp, dulcimer, and the orchestra. And also I worked with an Irish band named Killa. And so a lot of very separate things, but I love it. It's like a Capharnaum of instruments. I start yes, by a little motif, and with a voice of a singer, a young girl, and after I built the music with these elements.